So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome, one and all, to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news, share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you happen to be listening anywhere else and you wanted to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube on Coffee Talk, and that is at Coffee Talk Live. Again, this is probably going to be the last day where it will also simultaneously be podcast to Prepper University. Wanted to give everybody fair warning because I've been throwing it out there for a couple of weeks that this is originally a Coffee Talk Live podcast, and I've been sharing it to Prepper University, but I wanted to get away from doing that on Prepper University and get back to actual Prepper related things over there. So again, if you are watching this on Prepper University and you like the podcast, please also be subscribed to Coffee Talk Live at Coffee Talk Live on YouTube so that you will not miss the podcast when it comes up. I don't know if I'm going to do it on both again tomorrow because, like I said, I am trying to move away from that. You can see it on your screen now, the address for Coffee Talk. Please be subscribed to both if you don't mind, so that we can, so that you can continue to connect. As always, I do try to read through as many comments as is reasonable, and I'll say hello to some of the people that are joining us here so far that have chosen to say hello. I see Puck is with us, as well as Jeff, Helter, Caps, Dragon, JJ, and Monkey are here. Glad you could join us today. Hello to everyone else who is not able perhaps to chime in, that they're just listening, and everyone else who joins after the podcast, because I know that's where the majority of the views come from. I see Tuck has joined us as well. Thank you, everybody, for being here today as we get ready to jump off into the news, and we'll talk about that. And I do have some news about the felines. I do have some news about the cats here. But first, we'll go ahead and we'll look at the top story currently, and that is the attack in Boulder, Colorado, as things are revealed about this. And this sort of a thing just justifies exactly why it is that the current administration is being so adamant about ejecting illegal immigrants, especially illegal immigrants who are special interest aliens. And this is a ABC article. Boulder attack suspect, and they have to specify that. The man suspected of carrying out an act of terrorism during a pro-Israel demonstration in Boulder, Colorado, leaving 8 people in the hospital, is in the United States illegally, according to the Department of Homeland Security. The suspect, 45-year-old Mohammed Soliman, is it Solomon or is S-O-L, so it's not, Solomon, Mohammed Solomon, entered the U.S. in August of 2022 on a B-2 visa, and he filed for asylum in September of 2022. B-2 visa, that's for school, isn't it? Is that a school or a work visa? Or I'll find out in a minute. According to Tricia McLaughlin, the Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs at the Department of Homeland Security, his B-2 visa, which is a tourism visa, okay, that explains it, expired February 2023. Solomon was granted a work permit after his B-2 visa expired. According to a senior official telling ABC News, the work permit expired March 28th. He's been in the country illegally since then. Solomon allegedly used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into a crowd of pro-Israel demonstrators on a pedestrian mall Sunday afternoon. According to the FBI, he allegedly yelled "Free Palestine" during the attack. The demonstration was run for Their Lives Walk. And that's the name of the organization, Their Lives Walk, which aims to raise awareness about the remaining hostages held by Hamas in Gaza and calls for their immediate release. 8 victims ranging from 52 to 88 were hospitalized with burns. 6 of the 8 have since been released from hospital. A security source briefed on the situation told ABC News Monday. Solomon was taken into custody and is being held on a $10 million bond, according to Boulder County Jail, which listed a range of felony charges against him, including use of an incendiary device. The posted list of felony charges also appeared to include first-degree murder, although it was not immediately clear whether the charge was attempted murder. According to the police, there are currently no fatalities. So in the country illegally, and he got that work permit through that special, it doesn't tell you in the article, it's that special permit that's associated with one of those special programs from Biden. Monkey says that he saw it happen live on another person's stream when that news broke. Wow. And Puck is waiting to see if he's been on the FBI's radar already. Wouldn't surprise me if they turn around and it's like, yeah, we were already watching this guy. Because again, as of last October, you might remember the articles that we read. They had let, 73,000 special interest aliens across the border. And a special interest alien is an illegal alien that or that the government is aware has a criminal history or is coming from someplace that is very questionable. Nature Nerd says Washington State Governor Ferguson increased taxes by $9 billion. That's right. We read that story last week. Gas tax will use 2% a year so the government can keep up with inflation, and car sales taxes went up from 0.3 to 0.5. Incredible. Yeah, we were reading that last year, and he had promised he wouldn't raise taxes too. Is that correct? He promised he wouldn't do it, and he did it anyways. He did it anyways, but he said he's open. He's open to having conversations with people that might be concerned. I'll put that up from All People. How you doing, All People? So yeah, in the country illegally, attacked Boulder, and CNN, it's not in this article either, but you might have seen CNN actually criticized the FBI for calling this an act of terrorism without more evidence. If you're going to throw an incendiary device and attack people with a makeshift flamethrower in a mall and yell "Free Palestine," pretty sure it's probably going to count as a terrorist attack. And then all the people he hurt were old. Age range is 52 to 88. I'm surprised that they're getting out of the hospital. That is crazy. That is absolutely crazy. But yeah, again, this is the reason why. One of the main reasons why a lot of people voted for Donald Trump. This is why a lot of people are behind the idea of mass deportations, especially starting with special interest aliens, gang members, people who have committed crimes, which is who is currently mostly being rounded up. This is the reason why. And then something like this, that just fuels that. This is an even bigger reason to ramp that up and throw these people back out. And by the way, when Clinton and Obama talked about throwing out illegals en masse, no one had shit to say about that. Nope. But Trump brings it up. He's a monster. Orange monster. Orange people bad. Or orange man bad, as the case may be. And speaking of bad, do you think it's bad in the West? You think it's bad in the West? And you want to get behind Sharia law governments and all sorts of things like that. I don't know. This one will fly right under the radar. You may not have heard this story from the Telegraph coming up here. Tulip Siddique's aunt charged with crimes against humanity in Bangladesh. There they are. It's Tulip Siddiq. Is it Siddiq? And Shishek Hasina on the right there. Crimes against humanity. Well, what did she do? It says Hasina, the ousted Bangladesh prime minister and the aunt of Labour MP Tulip Siddiq, has been charged with crimes against humanity for her alleged involvement in mass killings during anti-government protests. Bangladesh's International Crimes Tribunal come on, has issued, the doubt, has issued arrest warrants for Miss Hashina and Asaduzzaman Khan, the former interior minister, who are both believed to be in India. Chowdhury Abdullah Al Mahun, the former police chief, has been arrested. According to the charges, the autocratic former leader was directly responsible for ordering all state forces for Awami League Party and its associates to carry out actions that led to mass killings, injuries, targeted violence against women and children, the incineration of bodies, and denial of medical treatment to wounded. The charges describe the 77-year-old as the mastermind, conductor, and superior commander of atrocity. Manuel Karim, the International Crimes Tribunal prosecutor, said the attacks involved murder, attempted murder, torture, and other inhumane acts. Ms. Hasina has not yet responded to the charges. If found guilty, she could face capital punishment, i.e. execution. She fled to India in August last year as student-led protesters brought down her 15-year rule. Her premiership was marked by widespread accusations of election rigging to maintain her hold on power, human rights violations such as extrajudicial killings, extensive arbitrary arrests, torture, enforced disappearances, including children. The UN Human Rights Office has estimated up to 1,400 protesters may have been killed in Ms. Hasina's attempts to crush uprisings. Bangladesh has demanded that India hand her over. Last year, India confirmed receiving a diplomatic communication for her extradition from Dhaka, but it has refused to comment further, triggering a diplomatic row between the two countries. The three-member tribunal, headed by Justice Mohammed Gholam Mozumdar, in a live trial proceeding, has ordered the prosecution to file a progress report on efforts to arrest Ms. Hasina and Mr. Asaduzzaman on June 16th. How many people knew that was even going on? How many people even knew that was going on? I see Fluke Man has joined us. And JJ says, items like this that affect the safety of our country shouldn't be made into opposing views between two parties. No, they shouldn't. And Fluke Man wants to know about anyone hearing of the Ukraine attacking 5 Russian air bases, if that's true. If that's even true. Because they both brag about attacking each other constantly. And then an attack doesn't mean it was successful at all. And Puck suggests that you'll now need a state-issued permit to buy and possess flammable products in Colorado. I wouldn't be surprised. But yeah, only she looks so happy too. Look at that big smile. How could somebody's grandma like that have been responsible? Because you can't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody. Autocratic government held power for 15 years, allegedly by rigging elections, responsible for mass murder to crush uprisings, torture, kidnappings, so on and so forth. Flies right under the radar. No one's talking about this. And Bangladesh wants her back so they can basically hang her. And India's playing politics. Give her up. Give her up, I say. Indeed. But that sort of thing flies right under the radar. No one hears about that. No one hears about that kind of stuff. We'll get to the purpose of the thumbnail here shortly. But I did want to give an update on the situation with the felines. Dad and Hobo have been found. Dad and Hobo are safely locked up in my garage right now. The female that ran off with them still missing. The female that ran off with them is still missing. There was 3 of them. I'm going to pull up a picture here because what had happened was that, and I explained this before. I know some of you are familiar, but the female saw an opportunity, and there's the picture of the 3 of them eating together. See, the female was the one on the bottom, black and white, and then there's Hobo in the middle and Dad on top. Okay, she saw an opening because we're in the process of moving, and bolted. Right, panicked and ran. Jane says, "Glad to hear you got the kitties back." Yeah, no kidding, because I was not doing well. JJ's having trouble with posts. The AI is giving you a hard time. So she took off. They got up and ran after her. I went after them, but I couldn't catch up to them. Don't know where they went. Searched for them, couldn't find them. Kept looking in the woods off and on over the period of a few days, talked to neighbors, did the whole rigmarole with them. So Friday night at about 10 p.m., okay? This is 9 days later because they had disappeared the Wednesday before. Dad triggers the doorbell camera. Old Dad. And Hobo and Dad are the 2 I was worried about the most because, again, Dad is very old and Hobo doesn't have teeth. So they're the most helpless. Dad triggers the doorbell camera, and then my wife is like, "Hey, I think I see Dad on the monitor." And I open the door, there's Dad, and then here comes Hobo bouncing out of the bushes. They had stayed together, and they were all excited. They didn't look good. They'd lost a lot of weight, and 9 days is cutting it close because no food at all. I have to assume at least Hobo, because if he even caught anything, he couldn't open it up. Excuse me. About 2 weeks, and it could lead to a liver dysfunction that could kill the cat. So 9 days is cutting it close. Excuse me. Again, Dad found his way back. Hobo had stuck with him. And the female, no idea where she is because she still has not turned up. Fluke Man wants to know if there's coyotes, mountain lions where I am. Not close to where I am, but further deeper in the woods, yes. Cap says that's good. Yeah, I appreciate it. Jane thinks they smelled me and came back. Maybe I'm pretty sure I shower more regularly than that. And Raccoon's asking about the cats. Yeah, we're talking about that right now. So they found their way back. I snatched them up. I put them in the garage. I set up a habitat for them so they could be comfortable. I did a short that night, and they gorged. They were pretty hungry. The female, again, has not turned up, but then, all right, watch this. They've got this one with them, who I've never seen before. Some gray one, I think, is a female. It's fluffy, but it's a skinny little thing who was bouncing around with them. It's kind of feral, won't let me get near it, but it's stayed outside the house. and it's been hanging around and eating the food that I put out. So I'm like, what? You got mad at Pinky for getting you lost and you ditched her and you found this one and brought it back? Is that what happened? Who's this? I mean, I don't mind helping her. I'll help any stray animal that shows up. But yeah, I'm just because I was not in a good place over losing those two. In particular, I took that hard because I was very, very worried about the two of them again because of their conditions. Plus, they were the two that were the sickest. Both Dad and Hobo were dying when I first got them, when I first found them. They were dying. So to go through all that with them and hang on to them for all these years and have them be lost like that, I'm like, oh hell. And knowing that if they don't eat for the next 2 weeks, they're done for. Puck says females typically don't venture as far out as males, so I've read it's still a few miles though. And Jane says they talked New Cat to come with them. Animals do communicate among themselves. And Raccoon says the stray I'm feeding brought a girlfriend a couple of times. It was cute. He let her eat first, stood guard, and then he ate. Yeah, but I'm just glad that they managed to finally find their way back. Again, the girl's still lost, and I'm still in the process of moving them. I got 4 left that I need to move. I got 2 that I've made arrangements for. I've got the 5 indoor ones are in the house. So yeah, doing the best I can, but I've never actually lost one before. So to lose 2, especially under those circumstances, was very, very frustrating. Very frustrating. I felt really guilty about that. And I was having a hard time. Honestly, it really bothered me a lot. But they're back safe and sound. And like I said, they've been locked in the garage since Friday night. I put a habitat in there and I've been going in there and hanging around with them and getting them adjusted. And it's going to take a while because especially if you have a cat that's typically outdoors, you have to secure them for 3 to 4 weeks before they're accustomed enough to an area to just let them wander around. So yeah, there we go. There we go. This is connected to the thumbnail. This is connected to the thumbnail. This is an LA Times article. It says yelling, finger pointing, and cursing galore as California Democrats gather near Disneyland. And that's in Anaheim, California. And there you see Tim Walz, because why wouldn't Tim Walz be in Anaheim? It's not like he has anything to do in Minnesota. I gotta ask again. I'm so tired of seeing this guy. Has he yet been back to Minnesota since running for vice president? Has he set foot in that state? And for how long? How long? How long? Seriously. Because he's everywhere else. Every time I turn around, he's in another state preaching against Trump, basically running for president 3 years ahead of schedule. Seriously. Why is he there? Don't you have, I mean, I know there are some things he can do remotely as governor, but shouldn't he be in Minnesota? Shouldn't he be? But anyway, getting into the article here. It says 4,000 stiff upper-lipped partisans showed up in Anaheim over the weekend, seeking solace, inspiration, and a winning way forward. As mouse-eared pilgrims piled the sidewalks outside, the party faithful meeting several long blocks from Disneyland, engaged in their own bit of escapism and magical thinking, talking about the Democrat Party they are. Joy is an act of resistance State Party Chairman Rusty Hicks gamely suggested at a beer and wine reception, which opened the party's annual 3-day convention with as much conviviality as the downtrodden could muster. That's certainly one way to cope, but the weekend gathering wasn't all hand-wringing and liquid refreshment. There were workshops on top of workshops, caucus meetings on top of caucus meetings, and speaker after speaker wielding various iterations of the word fight and resist and dropping enough F-bombs to blow decorum and restraint clear to kingdom come. President Trump, aka the devil himself to those roiling inside the hall, was described as a punk, the orange oligarch, a small-fisted bully, the thing that sits in the White House, and assorted unprintable epithets, that is, vulgar things that shouldn't be repeated. My fellow Golden State Democrats, we are the party of FDR and JFK, of Pat Brown and the incomparable Nancy Pelosi, said a not-so-mild-mannered Senator Adam Schiff. I don't think Nancy Pelosi is on the same level as those three, but whatever. We do not capitulate. We do not concede. California does not cower, not now, not ever. We say to abilities, you can go F yourself. The road from political exile, many Democrats seem to feel, is richly paved with 4-letter words. 2 of the party's 2028 presidential prospects were on hand. Another of those, Governor Gavin Newsom, has fallen out of favor with many of his fellow California Democrats and found it best to stay away. So what? Newsom wasn't there? That's what it sounds like they just said. That sounds like what it was just said. It says, we are here because of people who stood up when they were told to sit down. We're here because of people who spoke up when they were told to be silent. We're here because of people who marched in front of fire hoses and dogs, Booker hollered in his best preachy cadence. We are here because of people who faced outrageous obstacles and still banded together and said, we shall overcome. Tim Walz, the party's 2024 vice presidential nominee and the weekend's keynote speaker, was on hand after jetting from a morning appearance in South Carolina. He delivered the most thorough and substantive remarks. He began with a brief acknowledgement and thanks to his running mate, Kamala Harris. She, too, had stayed away from this convention. By contrast, Walz gleefully tore into Trump, saying his only animating impulses were corruption and greed. He noted the callous hard-heartedness the president and his allies displayed during California's horrific January firestorm. That's not true. Quote, they played a game, a blame game, and they put out misinformation about an incredibly tragic situation. They didn't have the backs of the firefighters. They didn't hustle to get you the help you needed. They hung you out to dry. You were hung out to dry by your own local government in California. And you didn't even get water until Trump stepped in. Seriously. Fluke Man wants to know if I have a catio. No, I don't. But I have something I can use as a partial outdoor enclosure, but not an actual catio. Not an actual catio. But, again, I want to know, what strikes me about it is I wonder what happened to the dignity. I wonder what happened when these lawmakers were referred to as the distinguished lady or the distinguished gentleman. And even if they were full of shit, they still maintained an air of decorum. They still presented themselves well. They were still moderately tempered, well dressed, spoke clearly, spoke with an air of authority even, tried to refrain from taking cheap shots, and you never heard them use foul language. And that's all we get now. Anger, threats, insults, lots of foul language. What's happened here? What the hell happened in the last few years, in the last couple of decades? Really, I would say I started noticing this with Bill Clinton releasing that air of dignity. Bill Clinton, who you would see in sweat clothes, jogging pants and sweatsuit. Bill Clinton, who shows up on what was it, the Arsenio Hall show, and plays the saxophone to act like he's down with the average person. You see what I'm saying? And it's been a steady slide ever since then, till we got to where we are, where now it's just commonplace. And from people who have been in politics long enough that they were around when dignity was not only expected, but practically enforced. Don't come in here and talk any old kind of way. Don't come in here looking like a bum. You may be a piece of shit, but you're going to act proper when you're up in front of people. At least they hit it well. H12 says Anaheim can keep him. Yeah. Anaheim can keep him. Incredible. Jane suggests they heard Cory Booker was doing the what salute at the speech. Yeah, I bet you that wasn't in the news like it was when they thought that Elon Musk had done it. And Chillin' Dave is here. Glad you could make it, as well as Juan joining us. He said he lived in California in his 20s. He's liberal, but not that liberal. It was a lot cleaner in the mid-2000s. I bet it was. I bet it was. But I want to know what happened to the decorum. What happened to the dignity? Again, you started, as far back as I can remember, when I first noticed that starting to slip was with Bill Clinton. And even he wasn't that bad with it. But again, the sweatsuits, the playing the saxophone on, or even doing the talk show circuit at all as a presidential candidate or as president was unheard of. Dancing down the middle of the street with Michael Jackson at his inauguration. And it's like, what kind of direction is this going in? Well, here we are. Here we are. Here we are. JJ says Nancy Pelosi is kind of comparable to the Crypt Keeper. No, the Crypt Keeper at least is entertaining. Nature Nerd built a cat house on the porch, he says. Yeah. I mean, I've got under our porch is a slatted enclosure for storage, and I can use that. But in the meantime, I don't want to take my eye off either of them because I feel guilty. They got away from me. But yeah, and now we end up with people like Nancy Pelosi, people like Tim Walz, who all they do is make excuses, make threats, point fingers, cuss, insult people, yell. It's like our leadership is all a bunch of adolescents. They're all like 11 and 12 years old. Or they think that's the type of mentality of audience that they need to pander to. Oh, our constituents are all a bunch of knuckleheads anyways. So I'll just cuss and pick my nose and scratch my ass and spit and throw out some cuss words. And yeah, that'll identify with my constituents. That's what it looks like. That's what it looks like now. And then Tim Walz is the keynote speaker. Keynote speaker. There's people who mature and people who just get older. You know what I mean? And these act like people who just get older. Just get older. Flukeman wants to know if Clinton's saxophone skills were listenable or was an ear killer. I'd call it average. You can probably find the clip. I'm sure if you go on somewhere on YouTube, somebody's got a clip of him on like the Tonight Show or the Arsenio Hall show playing the saxophone. You can find it. It's pretty average. You know, we're not talking Kenny G level here. I know Kenny G didn't play the saxophone, but you know what I mean. Jane says people are crazy and do not care. Rudeness is all over. Yes, it is. And Flukeman says they never matured past puberty. That's what it seems like. Again, you can get, and you see people like this in all walks of life. They're much older, but somehow they didn't grow up. They didn't grow up. And these people act like they didn't grow up. Like they didn't mature. They didn't mature. And they're lawmakers. There are supposed leadership, these people. And Jane's talking about the Boulder, Colorado. Yeah, we opened with that. We opened with that. He's in the country illegally. And this guy, he's gonna take I think he's gonna take a crack at the presidency. Walz. And again, I ask, when the hell is he in Minnesota? When the hell is he doing his job for his constituents, the people who allegedly voted for him? There's only so much as governor you can do remotely. He's got to make an appearance at some point. Keynote speaker. Oh, speaking of which, you know, since we are moving, you know, you dig around and you come across things, you find things that you forgot you had. So a little bit of history here. I found my Phi Theta Kappa key. There it is. My Phi Theta Kappa key that I was supposed to wear to the graduation that I didn't go to. Yay. It's coded. It's not real. Sure. I found my old badge. And I found my old Family Dollar name tag. Store manager. And this is the 2002 badge, but I only got 4 of the $ pins. It's missing a couple. I thought I had 6. So they might have fallen out. Oh, that's all it is. Do they still do this at Family Dollar? There's holes for 8 of these little $. And it's some kind of management ranking based on your training. I don't know if they still do that. But yeah, like I said, it's just flipping through and come with me, sir. It's not that kind of badge. Not that kind of badge. Raccoon still has their Toys R Us name badge somewhere. There you go. There you go. Flukeman says in a few decades, all the applicants running for presidency will be like teenagers. The average person will believe that's normal, and one of them will be the president. Kind of like Idiocracy with President Macho Camacho firing the machine gun into the ceiling. Who remembers that? I'm sure a lot of you have seen that film, Idiocracy. President Camacho, 5 times SmackDown champion. Was it 5 times or 6? SmackDown champion. Former professional wrestler. Excuse me. Nature Nerd says some adults look the same for 10 years while everyone else around them moves forward in life. That's what some careers feel like. And Nash says that film is coming true. Yeah, it feels that way. Well, the thing is, people are already that dumb. Nash. Most people, I say it all the time, and people can get upset with me if they want to, but it's just the truth. Most people are not that smart. They're not. The problem with that is, again, just because people are not that smart doesn't mean you have to treat them like that. And these politicians are not half as dumb as they act, but they are playing off the fact that they know most people are either not that smart or they're determined to toe that party line and they don't want to hear any opposing viewpoints, or they're not going to bother to do any research because they're lazy, which means that they're manipulating their crowds. They're manipulating their crowds, and they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. I mean, they got where they are for a reason. Selling their soul was only part of it. Rolling into California here, rolling back into California, because we talked a lot about California last week, and we got a troll pretty upset with us talking about California, actually, if you, as some of you might recall. It says thousands of teachers in California lose their jobs as the union raises the alarm. Yeah, sure it does. I'm sure they'll get right on that. A teachers union is sounding the alarm after 3,000 California teachers found themselves out of work amid a mass layoff. Quote, "We have districts sometimes who lead with layoffs and have millions of dollars in reserves and say that it's for a rainy day." According to David Goldberg, the president of California's Teachers Association, it's raining now. It is pouring now. Basically, he's suggesting, that's a little twin speak there, union twin speak. He's suggesting that the school departments are holding out on funding, that they have extra money, which he couldn't possibly know. Never mind the fact that I'm sure this guy's making an obscene amount of money as the president of the California Teachers Association. Neither is he going to do anything to help those constituents either. Is this the right guy? I was curious about that, and I wanted to look up Dave Goldman. Is it Goldberg? Dave Goldberg? Yeah, David Goldberg. I don't know if this is the right guy. Estimated net worth 14 million. Out of curiosity, because I don't trust any of these union bosses. It says California school districts have turned to laying off teachers due to budget constraints from declining enrollment and the depletion of their federal COVID relief funds. Depletion indeed. Once more, California allegedly had what Typhoon, that Chinese hacking service, the hacktivists, had stolen somewhere around $30 billion worth of their COVID relief money. They don't know where it is. They don't know what happened. Goldberg accused school districts of mismanaging funds. Oh, wow. They probably did, but hey, allowing administrators' salaries to balloon and not pulling funds from reserves. Three things that the union are probably also responsible for: mismanaging funds, allowing administrators' salaries to balloon or to get out of control, and not pulling funds from reserves. He urged districts to reevaluate salaries of administrators and look into how layoffs can be limited. I want to know how much this guy makes. Nature Nerd wants to know how taxes increase. How are taxes increasing while teachers have mass layoffs? Mismanagement and misappropriation of funds, the same problem that's always been happening in California for the last few decades. They make a ton of money and they don't spend it properly and they waste it and they don't keep track of it. And it gets out of control. And they have a budget, they have a state budget that's projected to be as much as $10 billion in the hole over what they can afford. And their solution is to raise taxes again. And then they go looking for cuts. Well, what are you going to cut first? Employees. Nature Nerd says locals that pay the property taxes for these bankrupt California schools are wondering where all the money went. Right down the drain. Public schools a money pit anyway. Then you got this union boss, and all he's really concerned with, honestly, all he's really concerned with is that the fewer teachers there are in the union because they've been laid off, the less money that they're going to make, the less money the unions are going to make because they get their money from the dues. That's all he really cares about. With his obscene salary, with his ballooned administration. JJ said mismanagement of funds appears to be a California specialty. Out of the states that I've looked at, because we read all these articles, the three worst seem to be New York, Illinois, and California, followed up by Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Washington State. Those six right there need to be put under a microscope. Yeah, Jane, he says creative accounting, indeed. And Nature Nerd says unions are bankrupting the taxpayer. Public schools should not be union. No. And the thing is, too, how many times have you seen teachers go on strike? How many times have you seen teachers go on strike over the years, as long as you've been alive, in different states for different reasons? So what you're basically telling me is you're going to, on the one hand, say, oh, I'm a teacher because I love working with kids and I want to mold young minds, right? That's usually the bullshit line they feed you. They don't really give a shit about those kids. They just want summers off and a fat middle-class salary. But, oh, I really love working with kids, okay? Some of them do, but to be fair, most of them are full of shit. However, I took this job knowing exactly what it paid and exactly what was expected, but I want more. And if you don't give it to me, I'm going to blackmail you by making it so your kid can't go to school. Because I'm going on strike. Think about the hypocrisy in that. Think about the hypocrisy in that. They're holding your child's so-called education hostage because they think they deserve more. Whether they actually do deserve more or not for the pittance that the system allows for them to give to your children, whether they deserve more or not, where's the ethics there? Where are the morals? Where are they? If it meant that much to you, you'd stick it out and try to work with administration. But it's all a lie anyways, and they know that. You took that job so you could get summers off because you figured it had a good retirement plan, a decent middle-class salary, no matter what they tell you. It's a crappy job, but they get paid good for it. Same as like with nursing, who the majority of nurses I've ever met have been beasts who hate the job and hate the people they work with. Backstabbers, terrible attitude. Fluke Man wants to know if voting them out is the only way to get rid of corruptionists. I don't know, because I don't have too much, honestly. I don't have too much faith in voting. I really don't. I don't have too much faith in voting because it feels like it's rigged. Or who was it? Was it Mark Twain that originally said something akin to, if it worked, they wouldn't let you do it? Nash is the way education is these days, having it withheld, the kids aren't losing out on much. No, they're not. And they realized that. They realized that during COVID. They had confirmation. Those kids know they wasted time in school. It's a waste of time. But when they were put on distance learning, that's when it really sunk in for this current generation what an incredible waste of time public school actually is. The bulb came on for a lot of them during that time, these young kids, junior high and high school especially. Yeah, it doesn't make a difference if I'm there or not. And as I've mentioned it before, I know a couple of people that are teachers in Georgia, and distance learning, nobody was there. It's like, yeah, I'd have the window open for 28 kids. There's maybe 7 cameras are on, and 4 of them are blank because no one's in the room. It's just on. They logged in and walked away. It's a total waste. It didn't work. And to cover that up, it forced a lot of these schools to, or put them in the position to feel forced to lower standards to hide that. Well, it's a waste of time. Public school is a money pit. It's the biggest money pit in the country collectively. Again, not just federal dollars, but federal, state, county dollars, money that's supposed to be coming from sales tax in certain places, and money that's supposed to be coming from lottery in certain places, and donations and everything else that they pull together spends more money than the Department of Defense in this country, while everybody whines about the Pentagon. At least the Pentagon gets some results. You may not always like it, but they get results. Unbelievable. And WCM is here. It says scam 2.0 is upon us. Taxation is extortion. Yes, absolutely. And correct, JJ says Mark Twain had some interesting things to say about school boards too. I bet. I bet. Monkey said he heard from a podcast a Spanish teacher in public school said the kids should get out of public school since the kids want to actually learn. It's incredible how bad that system all is. And again, I've had too much experience with it, not just my personal experience, but working with JJA, problems I had with my kids when they were forced to go to public school, when custody was taken away. And I always thought that was funny. I was homeschooling them. She gets custody. And then she was like, I'm going to homeschool them too. And the judge is like, no, you're not. You're putting them in public school. I'm ordering it. And it's like, you don't trust her to homeschool them, but you're giving her custody, huh? Yeah, okay. Oh, my God. But speaking of corruption, I wanted to throw this out here because this happened this morning. This is a Daily Caller article, and oh, there's your girl. Oh, wow. The wig does not help. That's Maxine Waters, obviously. Maxine Waters punished for accepting illegal donations. And this is way back in 2020. And they just did an investigation on it and caught it. I wonder how much has happened before and since her 2020 run that could be exposed. California Democratic Representative Maxine Waters' congressional campaign was fined $68,000 for violating several federal campaign finance laws during her 2020 re-election bid. The Federal Election Commission recently published investigation documents showing that Waters' 2020 campaign committee Citizens for Waters understated contributions. Oh, there's that mismanagement and misrepresentation, and understated their contributions and spending by hundreds of thousands of dollars. The Waters campaign has agreed to pay the fine and sent its treasurer to a commission-sponsored training program for political committees. Nonpartisan campaign finance research group Open Secrets has reported. So they did an investigation of her 2020 campaign, found out that her campaign lied on her behalf, covering up hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of donations and spending. The solution is to fine her $68,000, which is a drop in the bucket compared to what's missing, and to send the treasurer to a training program. Puck says that Maxine's wig collection is more than $68,000. Do you see it? Doesn't it look like her wig is moving? It's probably trying to get away. Monkey says he's seeing more and more people saying Happy Men's Mental Health Awareness Mother rather than the Pride Month. Pride fatigue is there. Yeah, pride fatigue is there. I agree. I agree. Pride fatigue is there. JJ suggests Maxine has the type of face only a proctologist could love. Well, you know, usually you don't have that much makeup in that area. I hope. I hope. There you go, WCM, rules for thee and not for me. Not for me. And again, that's just her 2020 election. What about the elections prior to that? What about where she's at since? What's gone on in the last 4+ years? What other money is missing or rearranged, or what other spending have we not been told about? Well, she wants to fight the oligarchs and tell people to throw cans of soup. Oh no, I'm sorry. She doesn't say to throw the cans of soup. She says bring soup, a can of soup home to feed your family, which for Antifa is code for missiles, because a can of soup or a can of vegetables or something like that can be thrown quite a distance and do a considerable amount of damage. She knows exactly what she's saying. She knows exactly what she's saying and exactly what she is suggesting. I'll remind everybody, and put this up here, that's the moniker. If you are watching on Prepper University, this is probably going to be the last time the podcast is shared to Prepper University, and from now on will exclusively be on Coffee Talk Live. So please do be subscribed to both channels, and watch out for us getting like prepper and homesteading and bushcraft kind of stuff back up on the Prepper channel. Fluke Man says, thumbs up, everyone. Yeah, please, guys, if you don't mind. I'll take all the thumbs up I can get. Take all the help we can get here. A reminder also, the felines are back. 2 of them, 2 out of 3. Hobo and Dad have been recovered. They were missing for 9 days. 9 days. It was killing me. I was afraid they were going to die out there. But they are back, and I've got them safe and secure right now. We'll go to the debt clock. Currently, hey, over the weekend it picked up quite a bit. Currently, the Doge clock projection is at $502 billion in projected savings. We have passed the $500 billion mark with a projection of savings per taxpayer at $4,471. Nice. Nice. And WCM says, glad they are back. So am I, because I was heartbroken. I'm not going to lie. I was having a bout of depression because I didn't know where they were or if they were going to make it again. And I say it all, you already know. Dad is really old and Hobo doesn't have teeth. They wouldn't have gotten very far, but they stuck together. They stuck together, and I've got them nice and safe and happy, joy. And hopefully I'll find the girl, but we'll see. Hopefully she turns up. At least she's young. But yeah, I'm hopeful I'll find her too. But there we are. We're at the top of the hour. So thank you everyone for joining us here today. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Coffee Talk, and that is at Coffee Talk Live. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again tomorrow.